Today, we uncover the shocking truth about UK washing up liquids. Because most people think this stuff is harmless. It's just bubbles, right? A little lemon scent, a bit of foam, clean plates, job done. But when you actually turn the bottle around, some of the most trusted brands in Britain are carrying warnings for serious eye irritation, allergic reactions, preservatives, disinfectant acids, and chemicals that go straight down your sink after touching the plates you eat from. Because here's what we found, and some of it genuinely stopped me in my tracks. There's a brand in nearly every kitchen in Britain, sold for over 60 years as gentle and kind to your hands, that's now legally required to print the words, "may produce an allergic reaction" on the back of the bottle. There's a bottle absolutely covered in green leaves and eco badges, the one you reach for when you're trying to do the right thing. That still lists the very same preservative skin specialists have been warning people about for more than a decade. There's a whole shelf of bottles shouting that they see off 99.9% of bacteria, when the tiny print quietly admits that promise is really about your sponge, not your plates at all. There's one brand charging you 3 and 4 times the price of the ordinary bottle sitting right beside it, for nothing more than the word power stuck on the label. There's a gorgeous, trendy, eco-looking bottle, the sort you'd happily leave out on display, that's actually owned by one of the biggest household chemical corporations on the planet. And there's a so-called natural favorite that quietly went and changed its recipe, which means the bottle you trust today might not be the same bottle you trusted last year. And before we even touch the first bottle, there's one thing we need to get straight, because this is where most people get tricked. Washing up liquid is not like a floor cleaner. It's not like toilet cleaner. It's not something you spray in a corner of the house and never think about again. This is the one cleaning product that spends its whole life touching the objects that go directly into your mouth, your forks, your spoons, your cups of tea, your dinner plates, your children's lunchboxes, the frying pan you cook breakfast in, the mug your elderly mum drinks from every morning. And yet, because it's dressed up with bubbles, fruit pictures, and family-friendly branding, nobody treats it like something worth questioning. We question what's in the food, but not what we're washing the food off with. We question the ingredients in shampoo, but not the stuff we soak our bare hands in every single night. We question what goes on our skin, but forget that washing up liquid is literally one of the most repeated skin contact products in the entire house. And that's exactly why this category has got away with so much clever marketing, because the companies know you don't read this bottle like you read a food label. You don't stand in the supermarket aisle comparing preservatives. You don't turn to your husband and say, "Hang on, this one's got methylisothiazolinone in it." You just see lemon, green liquid, soft hands, antibacterial, eco-sensitive, max power, and your brain fills in the rest. It assumes safe. It assumes familiar. It assumes this is basically the same stuff your mum used in the 70s. But it isn't. The modern washing up liquid aisle is not some innocent little shelf of soap. It's a carefully designed wall of emotional triggers. Yellow means fresh, green means natural, clear means pure, blue means powerful, original means trustworthy, antibacterial means protective, eco means guilt-free, sensitive means gentle. And the genius is, they get to say all of that on the front, while the legally important stuff sits tiny on the back, exactly where they know most people won't bother looking. So we've gone through the major brands currently sold in UK supermarkets, and we're going to expose the 8 washing up liquids you really need to rethink. Then I'll tell you the handful that are actually still worth your hard-earned money. But before we start, do me one favor, and I promise you it genuinely matters more than you'd think. If you believe ordinary people deserve straight answers about what we're scrubbing our plates and soaking our hands in every single day, then hit that hype button for me right now and give this video a like while you're at it. I know it sounds like a small thing. It really isn't. Every single hype and every single like shoves this video in front of thousands more ordinary families who've been kept completely in the dark, and the louder this gets, the harder it becomes for these companies to keep quietly hiding the truth on the back of the bottle. This is how we push back. This is how standards actually get raised, not by us politely asking, but by enough of us refusing to look the other way. So hype it, like it, and let's make some proper noise together. And once you've done that, Leave me a comment because I honestly want to know what you think and what's sitting next to your sink right now. And if you're new here, subscribe because I'm going to keep on making videos exactly like this one, pulling apart the everyday products you've been told your whole life to trust. And let's get into it. Number 8. Fairy Original and Lemon. We have to start right here, because for most people watching this, Fairy isn't really a product, it's furniture. It's been the gold standard of the British kitchen sink since 1960. The advert sells you a warm home, a caring family, soft hands, a single drop that lasts and lasts. It's wrapped up in so much nostalgia that most people have genuinely never thought to question it. So let's do the one thing nobody ever does. Let's turn it round on the bottles currently sitting in Tesco, in Sainsbury's, in Morrison's and in Waitrose. Fairy Original's own ingredients list declares the preservatives benzisothiazolinone and methylisothiazolinone, along with phenoxyethanol, perfume and limonene. And then there's the warning box, written in the manufacturer's own words, not mine. Causes serious eye irritation. Harmful to aquatic life with long-lasting effects. And then this line, printed by Procter & Gamble themselves, contains methylisothiazolinone, may produce an allergic reaction. Just sit with that for a second. The brand whose entire personality, for over 60 years, has been gentleness, is the same brand legally obliged to tell you it may produce an allergic reaction. The front of the bottle says kind to your hands. The back of the bottle says may produce an allergic reaction. Same bottle. We didn't write that back label. They did. And here's a bit of history that puts the whole thing in perspective. The washing up your grandparents did after the war used actual soap, fats and oils turned into a cleaner. What sits beside your sink today mostly isn't soap at all. It's a synthetic detergent, a completely different animal, and that preservative on the back, methylisothiazolinone, has got real form. Skin specialists named it their contact allergen of the year all the way back in 2013, and the rules across Europe were tightened up in 2015 precisely because so many people had started reacting to it. So if you've spent years doing the washing up by hand with dry, sore, cracked fingers, and you've quietly blamed it on getting older, that little line on the back is worth a very long look indeed. Number 7. Fairy Max Power. Right next to the original sits its flashy modern cousin. The upside-down bottle, the word power, stamped across it in big aggressive letters. The whole promise that it'll tear through baked-on grease like some heavy-duty industrial degreaser. And here's the clever little trick, because it's the same fundamental job. You're lifting grease off a dinner plate. That's it. But it's been dressed up and sold to you as if you're cleaning the engine of a tractor. And you pay handsomely for that costume. When the consumer experts at Which tested the range, the Max Power bottles came out at roughly 48 pence per 100 millilitres, while basic own-label bottles sat at around 12 to 16 pence for the very same amount. That's 3 to 4 times the money for the same basic task, simply because the branding is louder and the bottle looks tougher. And when you turn it round, you find the same family of surfactants, the same fragrance, the same preservative story as the standard one. You're not buying a better product, you're buying a bigger adjective. The word power is the entire upgrade, and you're the one funding it. Even the upside-down cap, the one that's meant to feel so clever and so modern, is really just another way of getting you to feel like you're holding something more advanced than a bottle of soap. You're not. You're holding a bottle of soap that's very good at making you feel clever. Number 6, and this is the one that genuinely got under my skin, the antibacterial bottles. And this isn't one single brand, this is an entire category built on a fear that for ordinary washing up, the experts say simply doesn't stand up. Walk down that aisle, and every single chain has its own anti-bac version now. They all shout the same thing at you, 99.9% of bacteria gone, and it makes it sound as though your kitchen is about to become a hospital operating theatre. So here's what Which actually says. And remember, these are people who've been testing this exact category since 1959. There's no need whatsoever to buy a special antibacterial washing up liquid because a standard washing up liquid already deals with bacteria in the very same way that ordinary soap and hand wash do. And here's the part that really gets me. A lot of those impressive antibacterial claims aren't even about your plates. Read the actual instructions and you'll often find the antibacterial bit only works if you smear the liquid neat onto the sponge after you've finished. So that big 99.9% number is, in large part, about looking after your sponge, not sterilizing your dinner service. And if keeping your sponge clean is genuinely what you're worried about, which reckons the answer costs you nothing extra at all. Give it a proper scrub after every use, rinse it right out, and just swap it for a fresh one regularly. No special bottle required. They've taken the most basic chore in the entire house, washing a plate, and bolted a germ scare onto it so they can charge you more for it. That's not cleaning, that's theatre. And it's the very same trick whether the posh version's costing you extra in Waitrose or the cheap ones doing it in Asda. And the antibacterial thing deserves a bit more time, because this is one of the most manipulative upgrades on the whole shelf. They have taken something your grandmother did with a normal bottle, hot water and common sense, and made it feel like it now needs a hospital-grade, germ-killing promise. That's a very powerful piece of psychology, especially after the last few years, because people have been trained to fear invisible contamination everywhere. So when a bottle says kills 99.9% of bacteria, it doesn't just sound useful, it sounds like you're protecting your family. It sounds like the sensible choice. And that's the trap. Because once a company makes you feel irresponsible for not buying the upgraded version, they don't need to prove that you actually needed it in the first place. They've already won. And think about how ridiculous it is when you slow it down. You eat dinner off a plate, you scrape the food off, you wash it with hot water and ordinary detergent, you rinse it, you dry it, and then it goes back in the cupboard. For generations, that was enough. Suddenly, the supermarket shelf is implying that unless your washing up liquid has a germ-killing claim slapped on the front, your kitchen is somehow not really clean. But the small print quietly changes the story. A lot of these antibacterial instructions are not even about your plate being magically sterilized. They're often about putting the liquid neat onto the sponge or dishcloth afterwards. So the front label gives you the emotional image of safer dishes and a protected family, while the actual claim is much narrower, more technical, and nowhere near as dramatic as the marketing makes it feel. And once you realize that, the whole thing starts to look less like hygiene and more like fear packaged in a plastic bottle. The worst part is that the antibacterial bottle also distracts people from the real dirty secret in British kitchens, which is often the sponge itself. That little damp rectangle sitting beside the sink, full of old food particles, warm water, and yesterday's grease, is exactly where the attention should be. But telling people to rinse it properly, let it dry, and replace it regularly doesn't sell a premium bottle, does it? That advice is too simple, too cheap, too old-fashioned. So instead the shelf gives you eucalyptus, lime, lemongrass 99.9%, laboratory-tested, germ-killing power. It turns a basic cleaning habit into a product upgrade. And that's what modern household marketing does again and again. It takes the thing your grandparents solved with routine and common sense, adds a fear word, adds a scent, adds a claim, and then sells it back to you as progress. Number 5. The supermarket own brands. The Tesco, the Sainsbury's, the Morrisons, the Asda bottles. Now the plain packaging here is quietly doing a job on you, and most people never even notice it. That simple, no-frills look whispers something to your brain. It whispers honest, basic, sensible nothing to hide. But plain packaging absolutely does not mean a plain formula. Turn these humble little bottles round and you find the very same architecture as the big shouty brands. Anionic surfactants, perfume, the declared fragrance allergens like limonene and linalool, a preservative, causes serious eye irritation. Plain on the front, completely standard chemistry on the back. And then there's the lemon. They print a bright yellow liquid and a lovely picture of a lemon on the front because your brain instantly reads lemon as fresh, as natural, as clean, almost as food. But on most of these labels, the word lemon doesn't mean an orchard anywhere. It means a fragrance, and the allergens that come along with that fragrance. The fruit is always on the front, The chemistry is always on the back. Every single time, without fail. And that little lemon does an awful lot of heavy lifting, because once you strip away the picture and the scent, what you're actually left with is the same plain detergent doing the same plain job as everything else on the shelf. Number 4, method. Now this one doesn't even look like washing up liquid. It looks like something a wellness influencer designed in a loft apartment. The sleek teardrop bottle, the muted, expensive-looking colors, the whole "we're the cool little rebel eco-brand" feeling. And there are 2 things you really ought to know before you pick it up. The first is that its own ingredients list still declares synthetic fragrance, and the usual fragrance allergens, so once again the pure, clean image on the front and the fragrance chemistry on the back are telling 2 completely different stories. But the bigger one, the one that surprises almost everybody, is who actually owns it. Back in 2017, Method and eCover were both bought by SC Johnson. That's the absolute giant behind Raid, behind Pledge. And that's not a rumor. South Carolina Johnson announced it themselves. So that little independent eco-brand you reach for specifically to escape the massive chemical corporations, your money is traveling straight to one of the biggest household chemical corporations there is. That's not a claim about the formula, it's simply who signs the checks. They'd just much rather you pictured a tiny startup than a multinational. And that's really the whole game with the trendy eco bottle. The shape, the color, the carefully understated label, all of it is designed to make you feel like you've quietly opted out of the big corporation world. But the bottle on your draining board and the bottle on the boardroom balance sheet are 2 very different things, and only one of them gets printed on the front. Number 3. Delphis Eco. And this is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable for the "oh, I always buy the Eco one" crowd, and honestly, this is where this video earns its keep. Because we're about to hold the green brands to the exact same standard we just held Fairy. Delphis Eco is a genuinely decorated British eco brand. It was the first manufacturer to win the official EU eco label here in the UK. It's got the awards, the whole bottle screams premium green credentials at you. So you'd naturally assume the back label is absolutely spotless. It isn't. Across its current listings on Ocado and elsewhere, Delphis Eco's own washing up liquid declares methyl isothiazolinone and benzisothiazolinone, the very same preservatives we just flagged sitting on the back of a Fairy bottle. Now, they're declared openly, nothing's being smuggled in, and that's only fair to say. But that's exactly the point I want you to take away. The big green leaf on the front and the preservative on the back are the same gap we keep finding over and over. That reassuring eco logo doesn't automatically mean the thing a sensitive pair of hands might react to has actually gone anywhere. Number 2, Eco Leaf by Suma. And I want to be really fair to this one because the company behind it is genuinely admirable, and I've got nothing but respect for them. Eco Leaf is made by Suma, a long-standing British worker-owned cooperative. We're talking the Vegan Society logo, the Leaping Bunny, an ethical consumer Best Buy badge, recycled bottles, the whole lot. People buy this one in bulk specifically because they're trying to do right by the planet. But turn the citrus version round, and Suma's own listing declares benzisothiazolinone, sitting there alongside the perfume, the limonene and the linalool, with the warning, contains benzisothiazolinone, may produce an allergic reaction. And older batches of the formula even leaned on a sodium lauryl sulfate base with a different preservative again. So this one breaks a few hearts, I know. Lovely ethics, a brilliant and genuinely principled company, and yet a preservative declared on the back that's from the very same family as the mainstream giants. Because here's the hard truth of it. Good intentions in the boardroom don't change what your skin actually meets at the sink. Number 1, and this is the most useful thing in the entire video, so if you take just one single habit away from me tonight, please make it this one. Faith in nature. This is a much-loved, independent British brand that's been going for decades, and it's got a wonderful reputation. And here's the twist that almost nobody realizes. The bottle you bought 3 years ago might not be the bottle on the shelf today. Older Faith in Nature washing up liquid used to list the preservatives methylchlorosithiazolinone and methyl isothiazolinone on the back. But go and check the current bottle on their own website right now, and the formula has quietly changed. It's now preserved with potassium sorbate instead, and it's free from the harsh sulfates and from parabens. Now, in this particular case, that's a brand quietly making its formula better, and that's genuinely good news. But it carries the single lesson that matters for every product. In this whole video, the brand name printed on the front is not the formula sitting inside the bottle. Recipes change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, and the only thing on earth that tells you the actual truth is the back label of the actual bottle in your actual hand. Not the brand's reputation, not the advert you remember from years ago, and not even a video you happened to watch last year. Turn it round. Every single time. Even the good ones. Especially the good ones, in fact, because those are the very ones you stop checking. A leaping bunny, a vegan logo, a lovely reputation built up over decades. None of that is the same thing as the list of ingredients in the bottle you happen to be holding this week. Reputation is a memory. The back label is the receipt. Which brings us, at long last, to what you should actually be reaching for instead. So how do you find the good stuff? Honestly, it's simpler than you'd think, and it comes down to two questions. First, how are your hands? Because if you suffer with dry, cracked, reactive skin, the single biggest thing you can drop is the perfume. And second, can you ignore the marketing on the front and go straight to the small print on the back? That's the whole game. The good news is there genuinely are bottles that pass that test, and the honest ones tend to say so right there on the front, in plain English, instead of hiding behind a picture of a lemon. So, let me give you the ones worth your money, and I've split them by who they're actually for, because what suits your neighbour might not suit you at all. First, Surcare Sensitive. This is the medical grade pick, and the label doesn't muck about. Surcare states it plainly: zero fragrance, zero dyes, zero enzymes, zero acids. The entire range holds the Allergy UK seal of approval, and it's dermatologically tested. It's exactly what washing up liquid was always meant to be in the first place, an invisible little worker that cleans your plate and then quietly gets out of the way. No perfume rising off the hot water, no dye, nothing sitting there waiting to set your skin off. Shoppers with sensitive hands describe it as the only one they can use without their skin reacting at all. And honestly, that tells you everything you need to know. It isn't glamorous, it doesn't smell of a tropical orchard, and that's rather the entire point of it. Second, E-Cover Zero. And here's a rather satisfying little irony for you. E-Cover, as we said, is owned by SC Johnson these days. But the Zero line genuinely is the real thing. Zero fragrance, dermatologically tested on sensitive skin, and approved by Allergy UK. So if you want a recognizable eco name you can actually find on a normal shelf, one that's genuinely dropped the fake lemon perfume and the dye, then Zero is the magic word to look for. Reviewers who can't tolerate anything scented say it's the first washing up liquid in years that stopped their hands coming out sore. Same big brand, completely different stripped back bottle. Third, M&SS Sensitive. And the best bit is you don't have to trek off to some specialist health food shop to get this one. Marks & Spencer's Sensitive is dermatologically tested, it's plant-based and biodegradable. And in M&S's own words, it's zero fragrance and zero dyes, an allergy-friendly product. So for all the M&S loyalists watching, this quietly does the one thing those posh anti-bac bottles never managed. It cleans your plates properly without leaving you a back label that's full of fragrance allergens. Fourth, Green Sense Nonsense. And this is the gold standard if you want to go the whole way. Green Sense is Soil Association certified organic, and instead of a synthetic detergent base, it's actually built on certified organic soap nuts and shikakai. That's about as close to how it genuinely used to be done as you can possibly buy in 2026. The nonsense version is completely fragrance-free. No perfume, no dye, none of those preservatives we've been flagging all night. It's the sort of formula that would have been completely familiar 100 years ago, long before any of this got wrapped up in plastic and perfume. Now it's more of an order-it-online job than a quick supermarket grab. I'll be honest with you there. But if your skin reacts to absolutely everything, this is the cleanest sheet of paper on the entire list. Now, if your hands are perfectly fine and you simply fancy something a bit more natural that still smells lovely, here are two more honest choices, and I'm going to be straight with you about the one catch on both. Fifth, Faith in Nature, the current reformulated bottle we talked about. It's plant-based, it's free from those harsh sulfates and from parabens, it's a proper independent British brand, it's made here. And it comes in big refill sizes, so you cut right down on plastic, which taps into that lovely old-fashioned habit of buying in bulk to save money. The one catch, and I'll always tell you the catch, is that it's still scented with lemon oil, so its label does declare limonene and linalool. Wonderful for most people, just not the one to pick if fragrance is the very thing your skin reacts to. Sixth, kit and kin. This is the fun one. It was co-founded back in 2017 by Emma Bunton, Baby Spice herself, and it's a certified B Corp. The washing up liquid is plant-based, it's free from those isothiazolinone preservatives, and it's made by a brand whose whole reason for existing was products gentle enough for babies. Same honest catch though, because I won't hide it from you, it's scented with grapefruit and orange essential oils, and its own label flags that those bring naturally occurring allergens with them, limonene and linalool again. So it's a lovely, clean, characterful everyday bottle, as long as fragrance isn't your particular trigger. And before I let you go, one genuinely fair word for everybody watching the pennies, because I'm not going to pretend the cheapest bottle is automatically the villain when the evidence simply won't let me. Aldi's Magnum has actually been rated a best buy, by which, who at one point called it about the best you can buy for the money, outperforming Fairy at roughly half the price. So if you just want a cheap bottle that genuinely shifts the grease, Magnum has earned its place on your shelf. The only thing to do is the exact thing we've been saying all night long. Turn it round. Some of the Magnum variants, the seasonal scented ones especially, do declare those preservatives, and a longer fragrance list. So if your hands are happy, save your money with a completely clear conscience. And if they're not, just check the variant and lean towards those fragrance-free bottles instead. So here's the whole thing in a single breath. The adverts sell you gentleness, freshness, power and protection. The back label, the bit that's written by the law instead of the marketing department, tells you about perfume, dye, preservatives, and the warnings the telly conveniently forgot to mention. Not poison. Just a very different story to the one on the front, and a story you were frankly never meant to read. None of this means you've got to bin everything under your sink tomorrow morning. It just means you get to choose with your eyes wide open, instead of letting the advert quietly choose for you. You don't need the germ theatre. You don't need to pay 4 times over for the word power, and that green leaf on the front doesn't excuse you from reading the back. If this opened your eyes even a little, then hit that hype button and smash that like one more time for me. Because that's the single easiest way to drag this in front of the people who still have no idea, and to keep the pressure right where it belongs, on the companies. And leave me a comment telling me which everyday product you want me to pull apart next, because you lot always come up with the good ones. Until next time, keep your eyes open, keep turning those bottles round, and protect your plate.